Hi everyone, I'm Josh, one of the mentors from the course, and I'm speaking to you on a wet and windy day from out on the West Coast. But I rather like grey days, so that's why I'm smiling. And also because so many of you are sticking with the course and continuing to engage in interesting, useful conversations. I'm finding them useful anyway. Not only on the week 3 steps, but also there's still plenty of people joining the course and adding to conversations about meaning and language in week 1, and about language learning methodologies, sharing experiences and ideas about task-based learning and content and language integrated learning in week 2. So do go back and have a look at those steps too, and welcome new people to the course. So anyway, this week we've been talking about the relationship between technology and language learning and teaching, differences between teaching and learning online and face-to-face, and particularly the roles of online teachers and the characteristics of successful online learners like all of you. And we also had a live chat on Facebook, Kate and Sally and me, around some of these issues, and that appears to have reached 40,000 people, whatever that means, on Facebook. For those of you that don't use Facebook or don't use it much like me, there should be a recording of that conversation made available to you soon through the course pages. We've also been talking about and sharing our favorite technologies for language learning and teaching, and that can be really useful. I mean, I always pick up new things that I use in my own classes, and I've shared my own favorites, and I think more importantly, I've shared a couple of places where I think you can keep up to date with a very, very rapidly changing area of language teaching and learning using technology, because of course new technologies are arising all the time and we're finding new ways to use them to support us learning languages and teaching. And finally, many of you commented on how interesting and useful you find the idea of connectivist learning, which was presented by Paul Braddock in the final steps of this course, this week. And many of you were relating that to the ways we're all learning together on this course by connecting our ideas and experiences and knowledge with that of other participants on the course. So that's great. So here are a few of the conversations in each of those areas which I found particularly useful. And as usual, I'd encourage you to add your own favorites and discuss your own favorite conversations and discuss them in the comments below this video, because I will definitely have missed some of the best ones. Anyway, to start with, I wanted to focus on a comment by Martine, which I hope that's how you pronounce her name, which is very insightful in terms of how the internet can be a great equalizer or leveler, and sometimes make it much easier for people who, for various other reasons, may have found it difficult to participate in learning face-to-face or offline. And the internet has helped them to become more self-confident and engaged. So I've added my own experiences there and feelings, and I'd love to read about more of the other participants' feelings about that as well. From there, we moved on to whether it's possible to learn a language online, and I think that question is strange now, because it seems so obvious that it's possible to learn a language, but it of course depends on what we mean by learn, and all those different aspects to learning a language: learning to read, learning to speak, learning to listen, learning to write, learning grammar, learning cultural knowledge. But even beyond that, the highly contextualized abilities and competencies in using a foreign language or a language you're learning for particular purposes and in specific situations. And that, of course, can vary greatly. And clearly, technology and online learning can help you in some aspects, and maybe in all aspects, but it depends what you want to learn and for what purpose. And of course, technology changes in what it enables us to do online. So continue those conversations. And that's all led on to conversations and discussions about the particular roles and competences e-tutors need, and also how to be a successful online language learner. And Kate, Sally and I discussed that in the Facebook Live chat quite extensively, so I would recommend watching that conversation if you can. But also I'd like to highlight Simon and Jack's conversation, sharing their own experiences of being online tutors. I find these insights into particular individuals' experiences very, very useful as a teacher and as a learner. And talking of learners, Eric and Anna D shared their experiences of learning online. So thank you very much for those. And I find these kinds of accounts so useful because they reveal the complexity and very personal nature and very contextualized nature of a lot of language learning, which, you know, I guess most language learning really does happen outside of the classroom, although the classroom is often a stimulus for that. And I wanted to mention a special issue of the Language Learning and Technology Journal that discusses and reveals some of this complexity. It's called Learning in the Digital Wilds, I think, which really means kind of real world learning and digitally enhanced learning. And that's free and open access, so I'd highly recommend looking at that. The link will be available on the course pages. And as always, of course, one of the most useful things, lots of you shared your favorite tools for teaching and for learning, and revealed some of your experiences with these, how you've used them or what you felt they were useful for or not useful for. So I'm not going to highlight particular conversations there. Rather, what I'm going to do is try to find the time to collect together the links that you've mentioned, the resources you've mentioned, and share those with you on this step again. So finally, let's talk a little bit about connectivist learning. As an idea, this appears to have appealed to several of you, and I found all of your comments interesting, but I'm choosing only two of them to highlight because I don't want to go on forever. One comment by Kirsten that I highlighted is because I think that it pushes us to look beyond just making connections and making more and more connections to evaluating the quality and reliability and value of any of the connections that we do make. And I think that for me emphasizes one of the things that we all know is important about learning online, and that is the importance of becoming critical learners, evaluating the connections we're making, helping our students evaluate the connections they're making, the resources they use, and all of those things, and think carefully about whether these are reliable sources of information, whether they have hidden agendas or whatever. And I came across a really useful site aimed at primary or lower secondary students, but I think applicable to to adults as well, from Kathleen Morris, that shares a lot of techniques for teaching better internet searching, better evaluation of sources, etc. The other comment that I highlighted is from Erica K, and I chose that one because it mentions neuroscience and poetry, and both of those are things that I think can be extremely useful for language teaching and for learning. So I'll be joining that conversation and adding my thoughts about why those two things are useful there. But if you have ideas about poems you want to share or neuroscience insights, please join that conversation and share them with us. So anyway, this video is probably now far longer than the recommended 4 to 6 minutes. So congratulations if you've made it as far as this and managed to listen to me throughout. And I can only hope that I've helped spark some connection making for you between your thoughts and experiences and what I've chosen to highlight and share. So I look forward to continuing our conversations next week when we talk about English and the evolution and various evolutions of English as ELF, as English as a lingua franca, and also the ownership of language and whether cultures, people, individuals, who owns language and the languages you speak. So I really look forward to speaking to you all, or communicating through text with you all next week. Thank you for getting this far on the course, and goodbye.